Welcome back to World News, everyone. So today, the patch was supposed to come out, but then it got delayed. So now I'm going to be making a video that I kind of was putting off because of the patch video, and I had all planned. Anyways, we're going to be talking about the event vehicles for the upcoming winter event. Actually, I think it's currently going on, and by the time you watch this, it's most likely going on. Just kind of fill in the area because I had nothing else to do today. So let's just talk about these event vehicles. Some of them are kind of interesting, and I have some thoughts and opinions. So I think I'll start off with the aircraft. We have an Italian Ro.57 Bis, as well as a MiG-21 PFM. Now, obviously, more people care about the MiG-21, as they are currently giving away what's essentially a top-tier jet. Said not to be as good as the MiG-21 Bis, of course, but compared to the SMT or the MF, it seems to be within that ballpark. I don't have those spaded. I do have a spaded version of the stat card from the dev server livestream. So what really sets this one apart from the other ones is its ordnance. Of course, it can carry R-13Ms. The real interesting part is the air-to-ground ordnance, bombs and rockets as the usual, but it can also carry KH-66s, which are laser-guided air-to-ground bombs. It is these missiles that make me feel like this might have been a better tech tree vehicle because Russia has had kind of a lackluster air support in tank battles compared to the amazing amount of stuff we can get with allied forces with all the bullpups and Nords. So far with guided ordnance, all we can really get with the Russians is the Yak-32, which there's the premium one and the non-premium one, which only have two of them each. And then this thing now, which is an event vehicle. Now, apparently in the Russian dev server live stream, they said that they're going to be working towards more advanced guided ordnance in the coming year. However, more advanced is really just going to lead to things like Mavericks and whatnot, which is just only going to further support allied casts. That's a whole nother can of worms we're not going to get into today. Today, we're going to talk about this lovely MiG. Generally, my overall feelings is it's not the first time they gave away a top tier vehicle, so it's not too surprising that they're going to do it again. The fact we got not too long ago the Merkava 3D and the FJ4B VFM 232 was an event vehicle available very shortly after the plane had been officially added to the game. In fact, that one had air-to-ground ordnance, much like this MiG-21's getting, before any other planes in game had them. Now, an interesting idea is after we got that thing, a few patches later, we received supersonic aircraft. Could this MiG-21 imply that perhaps we're going to see another jump in aircraft technology, similar to when we got the last essentially top tier? I think it was max battle rating. It might have been 9.0 back then. I don't remember. But this was a brand new top of the line aircraft at the time. Is history repeating itself is what I'm asking. The lower rank aircraft, probably more people are going to get, is an Italian Ro.57, a twin engine heavy fighter / ground attacker. Can carry a good number of bombs, as well as armed with two 50 cals, they're Italian though, and two 20 mils. Now we don't know what the battery of this would be. We didn't actually see it on the dev server streams, but it did receive a dev blog, so some of the details we can figure out, like its max bomb load is 500 kilograms, which is pretty good. Generally, this thing looks like it would be an actually pretty good ground attacker, so if you're grinding out the Italian tank tree, you might want to go for this. Or the Italian air tree, as it is also going to double as a heavy fighter. We don't really know the battle rating, but I'm predicting something low. It's rank 2, maybe 3.3, maybe some data miner somewhere has found the battle rating. Generally, this is good. And hey, Italy's getting an event vehicle. People have been asking for that stuff. Sort of. Issue comes, and this can be covered with other event vehicles for the other minor nations. We want Italian event vehicles, yes, but we don't necessarily want this as an Italian event vehicle because this wasn't a one-off prototype. This was a mass-produced plane. Now, there's only 50 of them built, but why put this in the tech tree? It'd be pretty good. Instead, no, we get Stukas in the tech tree. Well, this does the same as a Stuka, but no. We gotta have copy-paste in the main tree and have all the interesting ones only available to be purchased on the marketplace because reasons. Like, hey, you did what we're asking, so good job there. You know, adding event vehicles for Italy and Japan and France and the other non-big three, but you didn't do it just right. Like you just kind of screwed up right at the end. You're like, oh, we're gonna give away mass-produced vehicles as event vehicles so we can fill the main tree with more copy-paste because that really inspires people to grind those out. For this vehicle in particular, it's not that big of a deal because it is kind of an interesting fighter and Italy has plenty of other vehicles that you could add to the Italian air tree. The next one, however, is much more grievous. For the two tanks, we're actually getting some wheelie boys, which is cool because people like wheelie boys. But the first one, the Panhard EBR for France, is like a really well-known French tank. In fact, it's like kind of iconic. So instead of adding it to the tech tree and their light tank line, you add it as an event vehicle. Now, here's the thing. It might not be that big of a deal. You see, if you look into the Panhard EBR, you'll note that actually there was like 3 different ones with different guns. And this one was clearly labeled on the Russian dev server livestream as the 1954 version. So this could imply that we could see some other ones coming, perhaps to the main tech tree. What's also funny is we could see the rest of the stats. Now they're in Russian, but you probably can get the gist of what's what. What people really care about, of course, is the speed. Max speed seems to be 100 kilometers an hour, kind of common for these wheelie boys. But for whatever reason, the battle rating was marked as 3.7, and its main cannon is the SA-50L57, which seems to have about 128 millimeters of max penetration. The hope is that this is a placeholder battle rating, and they'll place it somewhere reasonable. Otherwise, why would you need 182 millimeters of penetration when your main targets, German tanks, have around 50 millimeters of that battle rating? Jesus Christ, the thing also has an autoloader. It would be a massacre. My fear is that they're just going to bump it up to 4.7, which would actually be pretty cool because then you can pair it with the SA-50 Sherman, but I don't know, that doesn't feel right. But once again, if you're upset about this thing being an event vehicle and should be in the tech tree, don't worry, they can still put it in the German tech tree. Speaking of which, the other wheelie boy is for German. It is technically a South African vehicle. This thing has a bit of a history I have trouble finding, so I'm going off comments on the announcement page of it. The Class 3P, a proposed prototype of the Roykot built by a German company and offered to them, and South Africa wisely turned it down because Jesus Christ, is the thing massive. Karen would probably take all of her kids to the soccer game with this car. Probably has like 27 cup holders. It does have 8 degrees of negative depression, which could be good, but you're going to be sticking out of the ground like a sore thumb, so I hope you can find some cover to hide behind. Besides that, the armor values are similar to the Radpanzer, as well as the gun and ammunition is the same as the Radpanzer, so it does have DM33. Its battle rating is proposed to be 8.7, though I could see that going when it does go live, as it just seems to be too similar to the Radpanzer, and having a slightly lower top speed isn't going to cut a whole battle rating division lower. However, one thing, and I suspect this to be a dev server bug, is the horsepower. It seems to be has the most horsepower in game at 1,374 horsepower. I don't have all the top tier tanks, so I don't know if their stat cards look spaded, but I'm pretty sure that should give them at least a good run for their money, if not be equal. But as I said, it's probably a dev server bug. The dev server had a lot of weird stuff going around, and they even had to delay the patch. Hopefully it's fixed by the time we get our hands on it. Hopefully not, though, because man, it would be so much fun to drive that around. Where though is kind of questionable whether this really should be in the German tree. Like how much of it was actually made by the Germans. Apparently the turret is just a Olifant turret, which is a South African MBT. And honestly, there's plenty of other interesting German tanks they could have added before they got to the Class 3P. Like there are plenty of stages in the Leopard 2's development, so there's plenty to choose from. And not all of them had 120mm cannons. So if you didn't want to give away something so powerful like that, plenty of them only had the 105. It's actually kind of disappointing that we haven't seen more Leopard 2 prototypes. But anyways, let's get on to what people really care about. That is boats. This is the game mode everybody loves. So of course there's a lot of hype going on with this new Japanese fishing vessel with guns on it. The Type K8 1942, which by the way, we already have the 1944 version in the game. So the difference between this one and the 44 version is this one has one less 25mm gun. On my personal note, I do think these boats look pretty cool. However, I don't really ever play boats, and until they have some sort of game mode in which boats, tanks, planes, and ships are all in the same match, I don't think I'm going to play boats much, because you don't even need to grind the boat trees anymore. But besides the lack of a single 25mm gun, the vessel will most likely be at 2.3, and its main armament will most likely be the 8cm Type 3 cannon, which by the way is not actually 8cm, it's a 76mm gun. And no, that's not some weird practice only the Japanese do for propaganda reasons or anything like that. The United States does it too. By the way, those recoilless rifles, they're not actually 106mm. They're 105s, but they call them 106 to separate them from the actual 105 cannons. And honestly, the Japanese probably call it an 8cm because it's a lot easier to say Hasenshi instead of Nanaju Roku Mimi Menturu. And yes, I know my Japanese is terrible. I'm just trying to learn it so I don't need to read the subtitles when I'm watching Chinese cartoons. Now, if you want to get a little fun, a little crazy, what if? What if? This is a really high brain, big brain what if rate we got here. The alternative name for for the vessel is the number 13 class submarine chaser. What if they're using it to hint towards number 13 class battleship, which was 4 battleships that were canceled after the Japanese signed the Washington Naval Treaty? Yes, I know, why would they add paper ships when there's plenty of non-paper ships to add, and these are post-World War I battleships, while there's still plenty of World War I battleships for Japan to add. Big brain. Just think big brain, man. But no, really. This vessel probably gonna get when I'm trying to get the next one up, which is the USS Baltimore, of course, Baltimore class heavy cruiser for the United States Navy, which, thanks to the viewer Dragon Level Gaming, I'm not sure where he got these, but we have images of the armor values of the ship, as well as its stat card and max penetration with the 8-inch guns, which seem to be the highest penetrating 8-inch guns the United States has so far. It also had notably more armor than the other US heavy cruisers, but of course the armor wasn't everywhere. It was strategically placed in areas that would need it. Unlike the World War I battleships that this thing is most likely going to be facing all the time, because it's 5.7 and those are 6.0. Naval is an interesting situation of constantly getting murdered by something that has a slightly higher battle rate than you. At least with this vessel, you can protect your World War I battleships as they slug it out, as you have quite a lot of anti-air guns. 6 turrets boasting 2 127mm anti-air guns that most likely have proximity fuse shells, as well as 12 turrets of 4 40mm Bofors cannons and 24 20mm Oerlikons. Quite an impressive array. Fun fact about the Baltimore, North Korea claims to have sunken the vessel in the 50s, despite it being sold for scrap in 71. Even more so, they claim to have sunk it with torpedo boats, which I guess is going to be the theme of a custom battle when I livestream playing this thing. As usual, being part of the content creator program, I'll probably get these vehicles in my hands a bit earlier than everyone else, most likely just as test drives, but I'll be able to show them off before you ground them out. So be sure to tune into that. Now, before I end this video, first I'd like to thank, first off, Dragon Level Gaming for supplying me some of this information, but also, of course, my YouTube members, patrons, as well as Twitch subs. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any comments, concerns, or questions about anything in this video, be sure to hit me up on my Discord or in the comments below. If you've liked the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, do not hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. I make War Thunder weekly news videos every Friday. The next one should be about the patch that's supposed to come out, but God knows if they're going to delay it again. So be sure to hit the bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything at all. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. In the terms of bonus news, 2 things actually. When I was looking up pictures of a German EBR, I found this image, very German, but also Masuri tier 3 sub gets to be YouTube famous now.